The alien ship hung silently in the darkness beyond Mars, its curved hull reflecting the distant sun. Inside, Commander Zucklathun studied the holographic display of Earth with narrowed reptilian eyes. His scaled fingers tapped against the control panel as he recorded his observations. Subject planet contains abundant water, vegetation, and wildlife. Dominant species appears to be bipedal mammals without natural defenses. Forward-facing eyes suggest possible predatory ancestry, but blunt teeth and lack of claws indicate herbivorous. Evolution. Classification. Non-threatening prey species. Jack Miller yawned as he adjusted his headphones in the quiet NASA listening post. The midnight shift was always the loneliest, but someone had to monitor the deep space frequencies. He reached for his coffee cup, then froze. The computer was picking up something unusual, a signal that didn't match any known pattern. "Hey, Susan," he called to his colleague. "Come look at this." Susan Wallace pushed away from her desk and rolled her chair over. "What have you got?" "I don't know. It's not one of ours, and it's not random cosmic noise either." Jack's fingers flew across the keyboard, isolating the signal. "It's structured, almost like a language. Across the world similar. Listening posts picked up the same transmissions." Within 24 hours, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Captain Samantha Davis stood at attention as the Secretary General addressed the room. At 38, Sam had spent 15 years in the United Earth Defense Force, though most of that time had been spent on peacekeeping missions. UEDF had been created more as a symbol of global cooperation than a real fighting force. Until now. "The signals appear to be coming from a vessel in our solar system," the Secretary General said. "All evidence suggests we are experiencing first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization." The room erupted in voices. Sam caught the eye of Commander Noah Wright across the table. As the military's top strategist, his expression concerned. He didn't look excited, he looked worried. When the room quieted, Noah spoke. "The transmissions we've decoded suggest multiple species organized under something called the Interspecies Council. But there's something else. They're discussing Earth as if it's a resource to be claimed." 3 days later, Sam stood with Noah and Jack in the newly formed First Contact Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens displayed every scrap of information they had on the alien signals. "They're discussing us like we're animals," Jack said, pointing to a newly decoded transmission. "Look at this reference to harvest potential." Noah nodded grimly. "From what we can tell, every species in this council evolved as an apex predator. On their homeworld, they seem to categorize all life forms as either predators or prey. And they think we're prey," Sam concluded. "Exactly. Our physical characteristics fit their definition of a non-threatening species. No claws, no fangs, relatively weak compared to their standards." Sam laughed bitterly. "They've never watched human history, have they?" The first official council ship appeared over Geneva 3 weeks later. It descended through clouds to hover above the United Nations headquarters, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. Earth's leaders had prepared for this moment, establishing a greeting party of diplomats, scientists, and military personnel, including Sam and Noah. The ship's bottom section opened, and 3 aliens descended on a floating platform. The center figure stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in iridescent scales with 4 arms ending in clawed fingers. To its left stood a bulky creature with gray, leathery skin and tusks protruding from its lower jaw. The third alien had the most eyes, 6 of them, positioned around a furry head with mandibles that clicked continuously. Earth's representative stepped forward, led by the UN Secretary General. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to Earth and extend our hand in friendship." The tall-scaled alien, clearly the leader, made a sound that the translators scrambled to interpret. When the translation came through, Sam felt her blood run cold. "Your world has been cataloged and claimed by authority of the Interspecies Council. Your species has been classified as non-spacefaring prey. You may continue to exist under Council management. Resistance is unnecessary and will result in accelerated culling." The Secretary General stuttered. There must be some misunderstanding. We are an intelligent, sovereign species with rights. The alien interrupted with what might have been laughter. Intelligence is irrelevant to classification. You have no natural weapons. Your strength is minimal. Your speed is inadequate. You are prey. The Council has need of your world's resources. Noah stepped forward despite protocol. And if we refuse your classification? All three aliens made threatening displays. The scaled one spreading its four arms wide while extending, colorful frills around its neck. The tusked one stamping its feet and snorting, the many-eyed one rising up on hind legs. Then you will be harvested more quickly, the leader replied. Standard procedure for rebellious prey species. The aliens departed without further discussion, leaving Earth's representatives in stunned silence. Within hours, Council ships appeared over major cities worldwide. In the hastily established war room, Sam watched satellite feeds of the alien vessels deploying smaller craft. They're starting with coastal cities, New York, Shanghai, Lagos, Sydney. President Martin addressed the emergency session from behind bulletproof glass. We've attempted further communication. They're not responding. All nations are authorized to defend their territories by any means necessary. Noah's team had been analyzing every scrap of data on Council technology and biology. He pulled Sam aside after the briefing. Their technology is advanced but not magical. Their ships have vulnerabilities and their psychology might be their biggest weakness. What do you mean? Sam asked. They're apex predators who've never had their dominance challenged. They expect us to behave like prey, to run, hide, or submit. They don't expect us to hunt them back. The first attack came at dawn. Council dropships descended on Seattle, their weapons firing indiscriminately at infrastructure. The death toll mounted by the minute. UEDF forces engaged alongside the U.S. military, but their weapons seemed ineffective against Council shields. Sam coordinated evacuation efforts from a mobile command center, watching in horror as the aliens herded civilians into collection points. They're literally hunting us, she said over the secure channel to Noah, taking prisoners too. We got one of their soldiers, Noah replied. Dr. Parker is examining it now, and Miller found something in their communications. They're surprised by our resistance. They expected mass panic, not organized defense. The first day of what would later be called the Harvest War ended with humanity on the defensive, but not defeated. Council forces had established footholds in 12 major cities, but Earth's militaries had rallied, and the aliens' advance had slowed. In an underground facility in Colorado, President Martin addressed the emergency coalition of world leaders. They think we're prey animals. They expect us to run or surrender, but that's not what humans do. Sam stood at attention along with other military commanders as the president continued. Throughout our evolution, humans weren't the strongest or fastest, but we were the most relentless. We didn't survive by running away. We survived by outthinking our enemies and never, ever giving up. Sam caught Noah's eye across the room. For the first time since the Council arrived, she saw a glimmer of hope in his expression. Today we show these aliens that they've made a terrible mistake, the president said. They think they're hunting us. They don't realize they've just picked a fight with the most dangerous species in the galaxy. As the meeting adjourned, Sam checked her tablet for updates. Council forces were regrouping for another assault, but now Earth knew what they were facing. They think we're prey, she said to Noah as they headed to the command center. Let's show them how wrong they are. Eric Franklin woke to the sound of metal scraping against metal. His head throbbed as he opened his eyes, finding himself in a small chamber with smooth, curved walls. The air felt too warm, and it carried a strange smell like cinnamon mixed with sulfur. Hello? He called out. His voice echoed in the empty room. The last thing Eric remembered was running from his workshop when the alien ships appeared over Boston. He had almost reached the subway when a bright light surrounded him. Now he was here, wherever here was. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a tall reptilian figure. It was the same type of alien Eric had seen on the news broadcasts, before communications went down. The creature fixed its yellow eyes on Eric, then made a series of clicking sounds. A device on its wrist translated in a flat, mechanical voice. Specimen appears undamaged. Beginning observation of prey behavior. Eric backed away. I'm not a specimen. I'm a human being. I have rights. The alien tilted its head, seeming confused by Eric's response. It made more clicking sounds. Prey species showing unusual vocalization patterns, possible sign of higher intelligence than initially classified. As the alien continued examining him, Eric noticed details about its equipment. The translation device had visible seams where components joined together. The door mechanism used a simple pressure pad. For a supposedly advanced species, their technology seemed surprisingly practical, almost familiar in its design principles. That gave Eric an idea. Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Parker peered through a microscope at a tissue sample taken from a dead council soldier. The alien had been killed during the attack on Seattle when its dropship crashed. This is fascinating, she said to Admiral Victor Martinez, who stood nearby. Their cellular structure is denser than ours, but their metabolic rate is much slower. What does that mean in practical terms? Victor asked. They're physically stronger than humans, but they tire quickly. Their bodies aren't built for extended combat. They're ambush predators designed to strike hard and fast. Victor nodded thoughtfully. That explains their attack pattern. They hit us with everything they had in the first wave. But when we didn't immediately break, they pulled back. Exactly, Olivia said. They evolved to take down prey quickly. When that fails, they retreat and regroup. While humans evolved for persistence hunting, Victor said, we can keep going long after other species would give up. In a makeshift command center beneath Chicago, Linda Carter worked tirelessly to decrypt more council communications. 3 days without sleep had left her exhausted, but she couldn't stop now. The information she was gathering could save millions of lives. Got something, she called to her team. They're planning another attack, but they're confused by our resistance. She pointed to a translated message on her screen. Prey species showing organized defense. Unprecedented behavior. Request. Guidance from council elders. They really don't understand who they're dealing with, one of her teammates said. Linda nodded. And that's our advantage. Aboard the council mothership, Elder Teixrax reviewed the reports from ground forces with growing irritation. The harvesting of Earth should have been routine. Instead, the prey species was fighting back with unexpected coordination and effectiveness. How many hunter ships have we lost? He demanded. The subordinate lowered its head in submission. 4, Elder. The prey species has primitive weapons, but they are adapting quickly. They have learned to target our engine systems. Impossible, Teixrax hissed. These creatures have no claws, no fangs. Their physical strength is minimal. How can they resist us? They use tools, Elder. Advanced tools. And they fight differently. They do not flee when confronted by superior force. They coordinate their attacks and focus on our weaknesses. Teixrax pounded his fist against the control panel. Increase harvesting teams. Show them the futility of resistance. In his cell, Eric had been watching the aliens closely. He noticed. They followed strict routines, guard changes every 6 hours, feeding times at regular intervals. He also noticed they seemed to struggle with Earth's gravity. They moved more slowly than they should given their muscular builds. When the next guard brought his food, Eric pretended to be asleep. The alien set down the tray and turned to leave. Eric moved quickly, grabbing the alien's translation device and yanking it free. The creature spun around, its neck frill expanding in threat. Eric backed away, holding the device behind him. I want to speak to your leaders, Eric said firmly. This is all a mistake. The alien lunged at him, but Eric sidestepped, more easily than he expected. The alien crashed into the wall, seeming stunned by Eric's speed. Taking advantage of the moment, Eric slipped past the disoriented guard and out the door. In the corridor, he quickly examined the stolen translation device. It wasn't just a translator. It was also an access key. He pressed it against a control panel, and the ship's schematics appeared on the screen. Now we're talking, Eric whispered. On Earth, The tide was beginning to turn. Admiral Martinez had implemented new tactics based on Dr. Parker's findings about council biology. Human forces no longer engaged in direct confrontations. Instead, they launched quick strikes followed by tactical retreats, forcing the aliens to exert themselves in pursuit. "They're getting frustrated," Victor told Samantha Davis during a secure video call. "And when they get frustrated, they make mistakes." Sam nodded. "We're seeing the same pattern in Asia. They expect us to break and run, but we keep coming back. It's driving them crazy." "How are the new weapons working?" "Better than expected. The reverse-engineered pulse rifles are effective against their armor. We've taken back Detroit and parts of London." A lieutenant rushed into Victor's office. "Admiral, we're picking up a transmission from one of the council ships. It's in English." Victor looked at the screen in surprise. "Put it through." The screen flickered, then showed a tired-looking man in torn civilian clothes. "This is Eric Franklin. I'm aboard the council vessel designated Hunter 7. I've accessed their systems and downloaded their fleet movements. I'm transmitting the data now." "How did you—" Victor began. "They're not as advanced as they want us to think," Eric interrupted. "Their technology is better than ours, but it follows the same engineering principles, and they have weaknesses. Their ship's propulsion systems can't handle sudden power fluctuations. If you can hit them with electromagnetic pulses, you can disable their engines." The transmission became garbled as alarms sounded in the background. "They found me," Eric said. "But I'm not done yet. I've set their oxygen mixture to levels toxic for their species, and I've locked down their weapon systems. Hunter 7 is about to become a very expensive piece of space junk." The transmission cut off abruptly. 3 hours later, Council forces across Earth suddenly began retreating as a massive explosion lit up the night sky. The Hunter 7 had been destroyed from within, taking 2 other Council vessels with it. In the command center, Victor looked at the tactical display showing the Council forces in disarray. "One man," he said quietly. "One engineer who refused to be prey." Sam nodded. "They thought they were hunting sheep. They didn't realize they were poking a hornet's nest." As reports came in from around the world, a pattern emerged. The Council's first major offensive had failed. Humanity had not only survived but struck back effectively. "What do we do now?" one of Victor's officers asked. "Now," Victor said, "we show them what happens when humans decide to hunt." Gregory Walsh crawled through the underbrush with 5 other soldiers, their faces painted with mud and leaves woven into their uniforms. They had been tracking the alien patrol for 3 hours, moving silently through the forests outside of what used to be Atlanta. Greg raised his fist, signaling the team to stop. Ahead, 4 Council soldiers moved along a ridge, their scaled bodies shimmering in patches of sunlight. They carried energy weapons and moved with predatory grace, but Greg noticed something he had seen many times before. They were getting tired. "Remember," Greg whispered to his team, "let them wear themselves out first." The Council hunters had been searching for human survivors since dawn. Now, as the afternoon heat built, they were slowing down, their movements becoming less precise. Greg checked his watch. Almost time. He tapped his radio twice. Miles away, a small team of engineers activated a series of electronic decoys. The forest suddenly filled with the sounds of human voices and movement coming from all directions. The alien patrol froze, then split up, each hunter moving toward a different sound source. Greg smiled grimly. Exactly as expected. He signaled his team to move. They had studied Council hunting patterns for weeks. The aliens always separated when tracking multiple prey, an instinct they couldn't seem to overcome even when it made no tactical sense. 10 minutes later, it was over. 4 Council hunters had been eliminated without firing a single shot. Greg's team collected the alien weapons and communication devices. "Command, this is Ghostwalker. Package secured. 4 less hunters in the woods." Back at the underground base, Commander Noah Wright nodded with satisfaction as the reports came in. Gregory's guerrilla teams had eliminated 23 alien patrols in the past week alone. Similar operations were succeeding across North America, Europe, and Asia. "They still don't get it," Noah said to Samantha Davis, who now led the combined Earth Defense Forces. They keep using the same tactics even though they're not working. Sam studied the global map showing council positions. They're adaptable in technology but rigid in behavior. That's why they're losing ground. Aboard the council command ship, scientist Virsik faced the fury of Admiral Clarax. The towering alien's neck frills were fully extended in a display of dominance, but Virsik refused to back down. "The data is clear, Admiral," Virsik insisted, tapping a claw against his display. "These humans are not what we initially classified them to be." "They are weak, soft creatures," Clarax growled. "No natural weapons, no significant strength. They are prey. And yet they have destroyed 17 of our hunter ships and reclaimed significant territory," Virsik countered. "I've been studying their evolutionary history. They are something we've never encountered before. Persistence predators." "Explain," demanded Elder Tesseract, who had been listening silently. Virsik brought up images of early humans on the screen. "Unlike our species, which evolved to kill with speed and power, humans evolved to exhaust their prey. They would chase animals until they collapsed from heat and fatigue. They can regulate their body temperature through sweating, allowing them to maintain activity for incredible durations." Admiral Clarax made a dismissive gesture. "This changes nothing. We still have superior technology." "It changes everything," Virsik said. "Our battle doctrine assumes prey species will break under pressure. Humans do not break, they adapt. They persist. And there's something else." He hesitated. "They cooperate in ways we don't. Not just in small hunting groups, but as entire populations. Millions of individuals working together." At the United Nations temporary headquarters in the Rocky Mountains, Alice Bennett prepared for the most unusual diplomatic meeting in human history. After months of fighting, a faction of the council had requested talks. "Are we sure this isn't a trap?" President Martin asked. "Our intelligence suggests there's a genuine split within the council," Alice replied. "Some of their scientists are questioning the classification of humans and the entire basis for this war. Be careful," the president warned, "but see what they're offering." The meeting took place on neutral ground, a platform floating above the Atlantic Ocean. Alice's team arrived first, setting up secure communications and escape routes if needed. When the council shuttle arrived, only 3 aliens emerged, smaller than the warriors with more delicate features. "I am lead researcher Virsik," the foremost alien said through a translator. "I represent the Scientific Analysis Division of the Council." "Alice Bennett, representing United Earth," Alice replied. "We have been observing your species," Virsik said. "You are not what we believed. We've been trying to tell you that since first contact." Virsik made a gesture Alice couldn't interpret. "Our classification system has served us for thousands of years. We categorize species as predator or prey based on physical characteristics. Your species shows all the physical traits of prey, yet you behave like predators." "We're both," Alice Oe said. "Our ancestors were prey for larger animals, but we evolved to become predators through intelligence and cooperation. This is difficult for many in the council to accept," Virsik admitted. "Our entire expansion is based on the belief that predator species have the right to claim territories held by prey species. If your classification changes, so must our approach." While the diplomatic talks continued, Ben Howard and his engineering team made a breakthrough. They had been working on integrating council technology with human systems and had finally cracked the code of alien power sources. "It's incredible," Ben told Admiral Martinez as they stood in the underground lab. "Their energy systems are actually less efficient than we expected. They focused on power output but neglected sustainability." Victor examined the prototype weapon on the table. "How long until we can reproduce these at scale?" 2 weeks for the first batch, but that's not the real breakthrough." Ben pointed to a larger device in the corner. "That's a modified council shield generator. We've adapted it to protect an area the size of a small city. Install these in major population centers, and we can stop their bombardments." News of the shield technology spread rapidly, bringing hope to resistance fighters worldwide. In Europe, a combined force led by French and German commanders reclaimed Paris from council occupation. In Asia, Chinese and Indian forces pushed alien hunters out of Shanghai and Mumbai. Council Admiral Clarax watched in growing rage as reports of defeats flooded in. "This is impossible. They are just prey." "The evidence suggests otherwise, Elder," Texrax said quietly. "We may have made a grave error in judgment. The military high command will never accept reclassification," Clarax growled. "We will increase our forces. We will bring the full might of the Council down upon this planet." "And if that fails?" asked Versik, who had returned from the diplomatic meeting. "It will not fail," Clarax said. "These humans may be clever prey, but they are still prey." Versik looked at the tactical display showing Council forces retreating across Earth. "I believe we are about to learn a painful lesson about what happens when you corner a species that never evolved to give up." On Earth, Gregory Walsh's team joined with regular military forces for the first major offensive against a Council stronghold. As night fell, thousands of human soldiers moved into position around the alien base that had once been Denver. "Remember," Greg told his team, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're showing the universe what humans do when threatened." The attack began at midnight, not with a frontal assault as the Council would expect, but with something the aliens had never seen before. Humans working together as a single, coordinated force, leveraging every advantage their unique evolution had given them. The age of being prey was over. The hunt had been reversed. Laura Thompson stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Defiance, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the stars through the viewscreen. The vessel had been built in secret over the past 2 months, using a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered Council technology. It was humanity's first purpose-built warship capable of space combat. "All systems ready, Commander," her first officer reported. "Engines at full power." Laura nodded. "Begin launch sequence." The underground hangar doors slid open above them, revealing a patch of night sky. The Defiance rose slowly at first, then accelerated through the atmosphere. As Earth fell away below them, Laura felt a momentary sense of awe. 6 months ago, humans had never left their solar system. Now they were taking the fight to an interstellar enemy. "Set course for the Council station over Mars," Laura ordered. "Let's show them what we can do." In orbit around Mars, the Council supply station hummed with activity. Supply ships came and went, bringing resources from across Council space to support the invasion of Earth. Inside the station's command center, the alien commander received an alert from the sensor officer. "Unknown ship approaching from Earth," the officer reported. The commander made a dismissive gesture. "The prey species has no space combat capability. It must be one of our scout ships returning." "Energy signature does not match any Council vessel," the officer insisted. "And it's moving, unusually." On the Defiance, Laura gave the order to begin their attack plan. Unlike Council ships that relied on direct, predatory approaches, the Defiance began executing a series of unpredictable maneuvers. The human pilots had studied footage of Earthbirds evading predators and applied those patterns to their flight path. The Council station's weapons couldn't track them. By the time the aliens realized they were under attack, Laura's team had already disabled their communications array and defensive shields. "Launching boarding pods," Laura announced. "All teams prepare for zero-gravity combat." Phil Garcia led the first team of Space Marines onto the Council station. Years of special forces training on Earth had prepared him for combat, but fighting in space was something entirely new. His team moved through the station's corridors in magnetic boots, their specially designed weapons ready. "Remember, they expect us to run or hide," Phil told his team. "They won't expect us to keep coming." The Council soldiers they encountered fought fiercely at first, but Phil's team used hit-and-run tactics, wearing down the aliens who couldn't maintain their energy output. Within an hour, they had secured the command center. "Station secured," Phil reported to Laura. "Minimal casualties on our side. We've taken 15 prisoners and accessed their main computer." Laura's voice came through his helmet. "Excellent work. Download everything you can about their fleet movements and defense systems." Phil nodded to his technical specialist, who began extracting data from the alien computers. "You won't believe what we're finding, Commander. They have detailed files on thousands of species. Earth isn't their first invasion or even their 100th. Back on Earth, Dr. Aaron Scott reviewed the latest reports on council psychology. As a specialist in psychological warfare, he had been tasked with finding mental weaknesses in the alien invaders. They're so certain of their superiority, Aaron explained to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's not just arrogance. It's hardwired into their biology. When a supposed prey species challenges them, it creates cognitive dissonance they struggle to process. Admiral Martinez leaned forward. How can we use that? I've developed a series of tactics designed to exploit this weakness, Aaron said. We're calling it Operation Mind Trap. Instead of just fighting them, we need to confuse them. In council space, Elder Zekathar watched the recording of the human attack on the Mars station with growing concern. The small human vessel had outmaneuvered council ships 3 times its size, and their boarding teams had fought with unexpected effectiveness. Show me the human commander, Zekathar ordered. The screen changed to show Laura Thompson giving orders on her bridge. Zekathar noted her calm demeanor, her strategic thinking, the way her crew responded to her leadership. This is not prey behavior, Zekathar said quietly. Scientist Versick may be correct. Admiral Clarax bristled. One success does not change their biological classification. It is not one success, Zekathar countered. It is a pattern. They adapt. They learn. They use our strength against us. The Elder brought up a holographic display showing Earth's surface. Nearly half of the territories initially claimed by Council forces had been reclaimed by humans. I'm calling for a full Council review of the human classification, Zekathar announced. This war is costing us too many resources for a simple harvesting operation. Kelly Wright piloted her experimental spacecraft through the debris field that had once been a Council battle group. Her ship, smaller and more agile than even the Defiance, incorporated the latest hybrid technology. Human creativity combined with Council engineering had produced something entirely new. Echo Squadron form up, Kelly ordered the 5 other pilots flying with her. Supply convoy approaching. Remember, target their engines first. The human fighters accelerated toward the incoming Council supply ships. The aliens had begun traveling in heavily armed convoys after losing too many vessels to human attacks. But they hadn't counted on the ingenuity of human engineers. Kelly's ship broadcast a special electromagnetic frequency that scrambled Council targeting systems. To the alien sensors, the 6 human vessels appeared as 60, coming from multiple directions. They're confused, Kelly reported as the Council ships began firing randomly into space. Execute attack pattern Delta. The human squadron split apart, each vessel targeting a different supply ship. Kelly's fighter slipped past the convoy's defensive screen and launched a precision strike against the lead vessel's propulsion system. The alien ship drifted powerless, its weapons disabled. Within minutes, the entire convoy had been neutralized without destroying a single vessel. The Council crews were taken prisoner, and the supplies, intended to support the invasion of Earth, were rerouted to human forces. On the Council homeworld, the highest governing body convened in an emergency session. The Grand Forum was filled with representatives from dozens of predator species, all demanding answers about the Earth situation. How can a prey species resist us so effectively? Demanded one Council member. Perhaps they are not truly prey, suggested another. Grand Elder Cathax raised a clawed hand for silence. We face a classification crisis. For 10,000 years we have expanded based on the predator-prey distinction. If humans cannot be clearly categorized, our entire system is threatened. Dr. Helen Rodriguez had been invited to address the moderate faction of the Council. As Earth's leading expert on human evolution, she now faced the difficult task of explaining humanity to aliens who saw the universe in binary terms. Humans evolved in a unique way, Helen explained through a translator. We were prey animals, for millions of years. We lacked natural weapons, so we developed artificial ones. We lacked strength, so we developed cooperative hunting strategies. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. The Council scientists listened with growing interest as Helen continued. We are not simply predators or prey. We are adapters. We change our environment, rather than waiting for evolution to change us. And most importantly, we never stop learning from our mistakes. As Helen's presentation concluded, murmurs spread through the council chamber. For the first time, some of the aliens began to understand what they were truly facing on Earth. Not a planet of prey animals who had gotten lucky, but a new kind of intelligence that defied their ancient classifications. Back on the Defiance, Laura Thompson received word that a large council fleet was massing near Jupiter. This would be the largest battle of the war so far. They're preparing a final offensive, she told her crew, but they still don't understand who they're fighting. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Commander Thompson. The Council believes this battle will decide the war. They're right, but not in the way they think. Today, we show the dual galaxy that humans are neither predator nor prey. We are something they've never encountered before, and we will not be conquered. President Diane Morris stood before the emergency session of the United Earth government, her face showing the strain of 8 months of war, yet lined with determination. Representatives from every nation filled the underground chamber, their attention fixed on the large display showing the positions of Council forces in space. The Council has called for a ceasefire, Diane announced. Their Grand Elder Cathax has requested a formal meeting to discuss terms. Murmurs spread through the chamber. After months of fighting, the possibility of peace seemed almost unreal. Can we trust them? Asked the representative from Kenya. Diane nodded to Admiral Martinez, who stepped forward. Our intelligence suggests the Council is genuinely divided, Victor explained. Their military hardliners want to continue the war, but their scientific and political factions are pushing for reassessment. They've never encountered a species that defies their classification system before. And if it's a trap, someone else called out. Then we're ready, Steve Johnson said firmly. As the commander of Earth's unified defense fleet, he had overseen the transformation of human military forces. We now have 12 space-capable warships and planetary defense systems covering 80% of our population centers. We're not the helpless planet they found 8 months ago. On the Council homeworld, Grand Elder Cathax faced similar questions from the assembled representatives of the Interspecies Council. The humans have agreed to meet, Cathax announced. They will send representatives to neutral space. Admiral Verkash, who had replaced the disgraced Kolrax after multiple failures, clicked his mandibles in concern. These humans have proven dangerous. They destroyed 3 of our battle groups last week alone. Which is precisely why we must reconsider this conflict, Cathax replied. Scientist Versick will present his findings. Versick stepped into the center of the circular chamber, activating a holographic display. Honored Council, we have made a fundamental error in our assessment of humans, he began. For thousands of years, we have categorized all intelligent species as either predator or prey, based on physical characteristics. The display showed images of various council member species, all with clear predatory features, fangs, claws, superior strength. Humans appeared to be prey by every physical measure we use, Versick continued. But their behavior defies this classification. After extensive study, I have concluded that they represent an evolutionary path none of us have encountered before. The hologram changed to show early human ancestors, then their evolution over millions of years. They are persistence predators who evolved intelligence as their primary hunting tool. They lack natural weapons not because they are prey, but because they developed artificial ones. They appear physically weak because they devoted their evolutionary resources to endurance and brain development instead of raw strength. Cathax surveyed the council members. If Versick's assessment is correct, our entire basis for this war is invalid. The meeting took place aboard a neutral vessel in the space between Earth and Mars. President Morris led the human delegation, accompanied by Dr. Helen Rodriguez, Admiral Martinez, and Commander Steve Johnson. The council sent Grand Elder Cathax, Scientist Versick, Admiral Verakash, and Elder Zekthar. When the 2 groups faced each other across the conference table, there was a moment of tense silence. Then President Morris spoke. 8 months ago, your forces arrived at our world and declared us prey to be harvested. Today we meet as equals. Cathax made a gesture that the translators identified as acknowledgement. The Council has reviewed the classification of humanity. Evidence suggests our initial assessment was flawed. Flawed? Victor Martinez couldn't contain himself. You tried to exterminate us based on a biological misunderstanding. Viersik stepped forward. This is why we have requested this meeting. Our society, our expansion, our very civilization is built upon the predator-prey distinction. When we encountered your species, all physical evidence placed you in the prey category. Helen Rodriguez activated her own display, showing side-by-side comparisons of human and council species biology. Your classification system failed because it never accounted for our evolutionary path. Humans evolved not through physical specialization, but through adaptability and cooperation. You hunt like no species we have encountered, Admiral Verkash admitted reluctantly. You do not strike and retreat as predators should. You pursue. You adapt. You coordinate in groups larger than any hunting pack should function. Because we are not just hunters, Helen explained. We evolved as social creatures who depend on each other. A lone human is vulnerable, but humans together can accomplish things no individual could achieve. Cathax studied the humans with new understanding. Your ships fight differently. Your warriors fight differently. Even your diplomacy is different. You show neither the submission we expect from prey, nor the dominance displays we expect from fellow predators. We want peace, President Morris said simply. But we will not accept classification as lesser beings. Earth must be recognized as sovereign and inviolable. The discussion continued for hours, with both sides presenting terms and counteroffers. Finally, Cathax raised a hand for silence. The Council proposes the following. First, all Council forces will withdraw from Earth space. Second, humans will be reclassified in our taxonomy as, he paused, searching for the right term, persistence predator innovators, Viersik suggested. A new category. Cathax nodded. Third, we offer technological exchange and trade relations as we would with any peer species. President Morris exchanged looks with her advisors. And in return, we ask that humans share their understanding of adaptability and social cooperation. These concepts intrigue us. As the human delegation returned to Earth, Diane Morris looked out at the stars. The war had cost millions of lives and massive destruction, but humanity had not only survived, they had forced one of the galaxy's oldest powers to reconsider its fundamental beliefs. We should have just explained our evolutionary history from the start, Victor said with a touch of dark humor. Could have saved a lot of trouble. Diane shook her head. They wouldn't have believed us. Some things must be demonstrated, not explained. 1 month later, the last Council warship departed Earth orbit. In its place, diplomatic vessels arrived, carrying representatives interested in learning more about this species that defied classification. In the new Earth Council Institute established in Geneva, Dr. Helen Rodriguez welcomed alien scientists, eager to understand human adaptability. On the wall hung a simple plaque with words that had become famous throughout human space. Humans are not prey to be hunted. We are not traditional predators who strike and retreat. We are the hunters who never stop. We are the thinkers who always adapt. We are the builders who work together, and we are ready to teach those who are willing to learn. On the Council homeworld, the classification archives were updated. In the central database, under the newly created category of Persistence Predator, Innovators, a single entry appeared, humans, not to be underestimated.